Welcome to the new and improved All-Pro Football 2K franchise here on the Buck Sports channel. Now, to catch you up, obviously with the Dragons in Season 11, we finally get a win over the Pittsburgh Metal, and we finished out the Dragons saga. I did originally plan on playing Season 12 and showing you guys game by game and all that, and even showing you game by game on Season 11. But the problem is I started doing the Season 13 off season, and instead of being excited about doing Season 12 and finishing Season 11, I just wanted to jump to Season 13. And basically, the story of that season of Season 11 was just that the Dragons finally beat the Metal on their year of revenge, and they finish out the saga. That's it. The Montana Young saga is over. Now, to introduce you now into this new franchise here, it's going to be in the same universe, pretty much all the same teams. A couple teams get their names changed through this offseason. But other than that, it's the same league. It's just that at the end of Season 12, a lot of people retired, and the D-League has produced a lot of star players that are going to be coming in through the draft and through undrafted free agents. Okay, so first we're going to start with the free agents of this league coming into the off season. Now there's going to be some names. I'm going to obviously let you guys know some of the stories behind them, and we're not going to go through every player, but we will be at least saying some of the biggest names here on this list. To start off the Season 12 off season, we're starting with the free agents of this class. Now, a new rule was passed that there is a new program for players to be released. It's the Commissioner Release Program, or the CRP. Now here, not everyone here is on the release program. Everything above the yellow line is part of the release program. So we have Eric McMahon, a former All-Pro star wide receiver for the Gladiators who went to the Monarchs. He forces his way out of LA before they get their new owner, and he goes to the Pittsburgh Metal, now named the Pittsburgh Dynasty. Free safety Murray Callaway, star free safety for the Blackbirds, gets released and goes to the Warthogs and is now their defensive coordinator and their starting free safety. We have edge rusher and D-end Rashad Gevin, who's a former star free agent from the Wolves back in the day. He's now also going to the Warthogs. QB Ryan Humes, who made a big name for himself with the Gladiators and the Guardians, he now goes to Revenge, and I'll tell you why in 1 minute. Also, Jason Peterson, last moment, tried forcing his way out of the Cavalry as well as Gevin, and he does, and he goes to the Denver Flight, and then DN Zach Swenson gets denied due to his age, and we were already having such a long list of free agents, the commissioner canceled his bid. Now, to the actual free agents. Wide receiver Ed Council, the best wide receiver to ever play in this league, is now leaving the Condors from Philadelphia, and he goes up to Chicago and plays with the Tigers, who made it to the championship game, beating the Blackbirds to get in there against the Metal, and the Metal win, or I should say the Dynasty, win another championship and put another one in their case. But so the Tigers are going really aggressive here. They get Ed Council. QB Chris Young was traded for by the Flight from the Blackbirds, played 1 year, and now Chris Young has asked for his release from the team. They have given it to him, and he goes to the Monarchs, and he now owns it and is the head coach for the Monarchs and the starting quarterback. Wide receiver Bryson Boitono, star receiver from the Hogs, gets to go to the Monarchs as well. Then, as we see here, John Thompson. He's not a spectacular defensive talent, but he's a solid starter for the Condors now. He's there. Margento Bordelone goes to the Condors. They needed a tight end, and they got one from the Warthogs. And then running back Calvin McWilliams, leaving his town in New Jersey to go across the pond, and is now with Philadelphia as well. And he's going to be in that backfield with Mike Fine at quarterback. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Hawks can do this season with at least a star running back now. Now we're going to look at the rest of the free agents here. Big name quarterback Patrick Anderson, the leader in passing yards in the last 12 years, is now leaving the Revenge. They decide not to try to re-sign him, and he goes to the Denver Flight. What an insane change of events this is. Really putting up that Flight team up into the stratosphere. Wide receiver Cedric Mundy leaves the Walleyes and goes to the Lightning to be their third receiver. Star CB Andrew Zempel from the Wolves goes to New Jersey with the Hawks. We also look at Samuel Montalvo there from the Cavalry, who actually led the league in sacks this past season, going to the Wolves. The Thing, Myron Draven, edge rush specialist here, goes from the Blackbirds to the Warthogs. Run blocking specialist Warford at guard goes to the Warthogs. Tanny Dillon, the Swift Army knife of defense, goes to the Warthogs. Jeffrey Byram, one of the loudest and most expensive free agents this year, also goes to the Warthogs. Then we're going to look at the Tigers. They get Brian Hammett from the Dragons. They get Arnold Blunt from the Monarchs. And they get Carter Cantwell from the Demons. And backup quarterback William Anthony from the Discord is also there to back up their elite quarterback in Electric Johnson. Nate Porter gets released due to injury concerns again, and he's now backing up Bryce O'Connell, who has been very, very loud about how he wants his team to be more passing percentage-wise, and he got injured because he was holding the ball too long because no one was getting open in the championship game, so he wasn't able to finish the game. And so now this year they have Nate Porter to back him up just in case it happens again. Then we look up to the right here. Sherrard Sutherland, star CB, goes to the Crusaders. Free safety John Bowman from the Metal goes to the Gladiators to really shore up that defense. And wide receiver Michael Ingram goes to the Walleyes. He used to be thought of as a bust, but he's really etching out a late career resurgence here. And hopefully with the Walleyes, it really comes together for this veteran wide receiver who really deserved a lot more in Seattle. We're also going to look at trades that are made real quick. Dan Dodds gets traded from the Monarchs to the Blackbirds to really shore up that quarterback spot that was left by Cameron Scalone retiring and becoming a coach. Perry Polak gets to go to the Dynasty from the Walleyes, and the Walleyes do get the season 13, 14, 16, and 17 picks from the Dynasty. And then lastly, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but Javon Hero, who's going to be picked in this upcoming draft by the Guardians, is then traded to the Condors for a season 16 pick and Al Frills. So the Condors are going to have a nice young quarterback there. But here is the draft. Big names coming from developmental this year. Some of these players are even better than some of the star players we have in this league. But it's very top heavy. But there are some solid stars here that every team can get, and every team has a pick, I believe, or just about every team has a pick, and some have two. There's 24 picks in this draft, and it's going to start off with the Sacramento Wolves, who only won 2 games this season. They pick up left tackle Lawrence Stinson. As you see here, there's a number beside his name. Every player will have this. That grade shows not just their combine grade, but also how they fit with the team and possibly how successful they are. Lawrence Stinson could fit with any team. He's the best left tackle probably in this whole entire league now. He has let up 0 sacks in the last 3 years in developmental. He is amazing, and now the Wolves are trying to build around Evan McCarthy because he's starting to hit his prime, so they really got to give him a good offensive line. Now, for the number 2 pick, the Dynasty have traded some players the last couple years. They got the 2nd pick, and they get free safety, Bradley Sanders. His grade is a 6.5. He's a little more of a project player, a former star wide receiver who really fell into playing defense the last couple years in developmental. He has wicked zone coverage ability. He can really key in on offenses and really play the middle of the field well. His problem is his tackling really isn't that great, and his speed isn't that great, and his agility isn't that great, but his tackling and strength are just abysmal. But if a ball is near him, it's going to be intercepted. Now, number 3, the Crusaders pick up DT Deron Titus Fields, or as everyone calls him, JT Fields. He's given a 6.9. He's a little bit of a weird case where he is a big D tackle, but he's more known for his finesse skills than his actual strength, which is what the Crusaders really did need, which is strength. But the Crusaders do have a wicked offense with their new quarterback they got last year in undrafted free agency. So the Crusaders should be a very, very good team this upcoming year, especially with some of the moves they made on defense. Now, number 4, we look at the Warthogs. They pick up strong safety Jordan Jennings, given an 8.4. He lacks agility, he lacks speed, but what he can do is he plays zone like no one's business. He is a new and improved Emmanuel Tanner senior, who plays for the Sailors now. He is a new version of him. He is just as good as a tackler. He may not be as fast, but I would say maybe agility-wise might be a little bit better. He's younger, and he's going to really work out with this overpowered Warhogs defense. Now at CB, we have the Walleyes picking up CB Jorel McKenzie. Now, there's rumors that if he knew he might have been picked up by the Walleyes, but that he might not sign his contract. He might be a free agent coming into the season, but we won't know until after the draft is over. But he is a athletic threat at that CB position, and he is easily a CB1 for any team. And for the Walleyes, they really need help on defense. So it's actually a pretty good pickup for the Walleyes to get Jorel McKenzie at number 5. At number 6, the Cavalry pick up guard/D tackle Julian Johnson at an 8.7. He is fast, he is agile for a guard, he can pull, he is strong enough to bully any defensive end or tackle imaginable. And then on defense, he may lack some of the finesse pass rushing skills that is needed. But if you need someone that can penetrate up the field, cause pressure, and on the run game, really stop anyone's run game, Julian Johnson is key. And with the Cavalry moving to a 3-4 due to their new coach, assistant coach in Cameron Scalone, it's very impressive. Now, the Monarchs, who are now owned by the franchise Chris Young, He looks at his team and he sees what he needs, which is a left tackle, Dewan Flowers. He is a good left tackle. A lot of the offensive linemen in this league could have been picked number 1 in any draft. But Dewan Flowers has some to be desired, like on the field. He's an okay pass blocker. He's a good run blocker. He's kind of balanced. His strength isn't that great. But for a good tackle that they could probably progress in the future, I think it's a solid pickup. And with this league really focusing on defense, offensive line is always needed. At number 8, the new San Antonio Bears pick up running back JaMychal Lyons. He has been in the top 5 of rushing every year in developmental, and he's a 7.5 rating. He has some power, he has some agility, he has some speed, he has great ball carrier vision. He is the future of this league, and I think with a couple seasons, he could probably get up there as a gold star player. But for right now, he's with the Bears. They lack offensive line, they lack defense. They're one of the worst teams in the league, but I think they do have a solid future now. It's going to be very impressive. The Cavalry, with their second pick, kind of fail, and they pick up wide receiver Addison Hanson. Now, with Addison Hanson, he's a 6'5" possession receiver. They did kind of need it. Calvin Ware is a star receiver for the Cavalry. He's a route runner at heart. So they really needed a guy who could run block kind of well and just a big dude. And Addison Hanson is exactly that. The problem is he's not much more than that. And I think there's a lot more wide receivers that could have been picked, depending on the type of scheme. But the Cavalry have always been known to run a gun-heavy scheme. We don't know with their new assistant coach, but it's weird for them to pick Addison Hanson. And like I said before, the Guardians at number 10 picked the first quarterback at Javon Hero. He's a high school phenom. He's a Greek freak as well. His last name isn't actually Hero, but that's what he wants to be called. He is the most clutch quarterback in high school football history. He's jumping the developmental to get right into the league. But, as we said before, the Guardians will trade him to the Condors, and it's already final. They didn't want to trade the pick, so the Condors would get someone even better. But now they have Al Frills, but Hero will be with Philly, and that's going to be very interesting, especially due to their defense. Now the Hogs, up there in Ohio, pick up left tackle Donald Wright, who again isn't a great left tackle, especially considering Lawrence Stinson, but he's going to start for them, and he's a solid piece that the Hogs have really desperately needed for years. Their offensive line has really hampered them, especially due to their running back situation not being great, due to their quarterback not being very athletic. I think it's very needed to start finally working on that offensive line due to their defense being so good. But especially with that division being so difficult, we'll see if it actually works out. Now, the Las Vegas Lightning pick up linebacker Darren Fleming, who's easily one of the worst picks in this draft so far. He's only had a couple really good seasons in developmental, but not even great seasons. He's a good starter. He fills a hole. He can make some big plays, but Fleming, he can pass rush a little bit. He can do pretty much a little bit of everything, but Fleming isn't draft material. I feel like the Lightning could have got a lot better and got him in undrafted free agency. So this is pretty much a huge reach for Las Vegas, which is definitely not what they need, especially with their offense being so powerful. They really need something better. Now, Bullheads have 2 picks in a row here. Their first pick, they use the tag to keep their free agent. I don't believe we know what the free agent was, but they did choose to keep him. And then they have their second pick here in 1 second. They now pick up the next best player in this draft, most likely, in Ross Jones at linebacker. He can play a little bit of zone. He isn't the most athletic, but he can hit hard in the run game. He can tackle very well. He's really going to try to gather this defense that has one of the best defensive lines in the whole entire league. And he's going to be the Mike linebacker. He's going to be the quarterback of the defense. Ross Jones has been needing to be drafted for years, but in developmental, he's really become a huge star linebacker who's a tremendous force. And it's crazy that Fleming got picked over him. And now the Crusaders, with their second pick, get tackle Craig Neely. Another tackle coming off the board. Again, an even worse tackle prospect than the rest. But it's a position that actually, with this pick, is much better. They lost their tackle, I believe, this past season. So you have someone just kind of subbing in there. So Craig Neely is going to be a big upgrade for this Crusaders team that has a statue of quarterback with Ezra Zion Starr, who came back from his retirement, his young retirement, and has become a huge star for the Crusaders. Now the Blackbirds at number 16 picked the best player in this draft. I don't know how he fell in Ahmad Rice. He's a linebacker, but he's more of an edge threat than anything. He's like a mix of Brandon Dorsey and Myron Draven. He has the strength, he has the speed. You know, if you really want to put him in a 3-4 and play him on that outside edge, you probably could. You just need to help him play zone. But the Blackbirds have said that they're going to put him at D-end coming through. So sometimes he's going to play in the edge and sometimes he's going to play inside. And that's a 9.7. He's the best rated pick in the whole entire draft. And right next to him, number 17, quarterback Bram McWilliams. He has fallen because Hero obviously has the potential. Hero's only 17 years old. He already has great movement and speed. Bram McWilliams, on the other hand, was snubbed for years, being behind Ezra Starr and always coming up second. Last year, he won a championship in developmental, and he won an MVP. Bram McWilliams is going to show that with the Stallions, he has the athleticism, he has the arm, and he has the mind to really take this team to the next step, which is very impressive because the Stallions are looking like one of the best teams in their division. As you look at the Dragons now, they pick up another strong safety for their team, JT Culmer, because they had Morris Kirku last year. They run a weird nickel defense and dime defense as well. And so they noticed that Kirkland was getting beat deep, so they pick up JT Culmer to play over top, and then they're going to have Kirkland play that edge CB that McCarthy kind of used to play. And in dime, they're going to have a middle linebacker and then both JT Culmer and McCarthy out there. It's going to be very crazy to see the Dragons do some this year. As you see now, the Wolves with another pick, guard Banks Perkins. Probably the first guard picked in the draft. Now, they probably could have got someone a little better than Banks Perkins, but the thing with him is that he's still a superb upgrade. The Wolves have not touched their offensive line in close to 10 years, I would say. Specifically, so for this draft, for them to draft two players, it looks like the Wolves ownership, who are kind of the GM, it looks like they're trying to finally build around Evan McCarthy and not just run off of Montana Young's success there. Now, Blackbirds, who have traded their star DN, Jermaine Redden, who's very old, to the Cavalry, they now pick up DN River Riddle. He's a huge DN that's going to fit on that left side across from Ahmad Rice. He can play a little bit outside even with his size. He can definitely play inside. The Blackbirds are looking scary. They're not rebuilding. They are reloading with a new quarterback, a new CB, a new D-line. They have a star tight end and linebacker. They have, decent receivers, an okay O-line. They look great. The DC Demons picked the best tight end in the draft, Carlos Maronicola. He is a tall, 6'6", powerful tight end. Now, he doesn't have amazing run block you would find from other gold tight ends, but his receiving ability is best to none. No one can successfully play tight end better than Carlos, and it's going to be insane to see him in this DC Demons offense. And now we're going to look at Las Vegas here at number 22. We're nearing the end of the draft here. What can they pick up? They get guard Kesnick Griffith. Now, this is the guard that the Wolves probably should have picked. Griffith has more years in developmental. He has better pass blocking, better run blocking, and he's probably one of the best guards in the whole entire draft. And he falls all the way to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is going to have an amazing O-line, only bested probably by the Revenge, who only have one spot that's bad. But Vegas is looking good. I mean, their defense still looks pretty horrible, but their offense is off the charts, especially with the Twin Towers on offense, young star quarterback. Vegas is really trying to make some changes. Now, CB, Drake Reed gets picked up by the DC Demons. There's only one other CB better than him in developmental right now, but he said he's not coming out till next year. But Drake Reed is a star at CB, and it's going to be insane to see him play in this awesome DC Demons defense that has always known to have a good secondary. He's picking up after Carter Cantwell going to the Tigers. He doesn't have the speed that Cantwell had, but he does have the zone coverage and the coverage in general that can really help out his lack of speed. And he does have good agility for his position. Now, lastly, we're going to look at Revenge, picking up Jerron Monroe, filling that one spot that needed help at guard, picking probably what I thought was Kesnick Griffith being the best pick at guard. Jerron Monroe has fallen due to his age and due to some off-the-field issues, but he is amazing. He has great run blocking skills, great pass blocking skills. He's elite. He's immediately becoming one of the best guards ever to play in this league, and he's picked at number 24 for one of the best run teams in the whole league, with Chris the Jet Williams at running back. And now with Ryan Humes at quarterback. Insane. And now we're going to look at the undrafted stars for the FFL team by team. Now, these are the star players. So, obviously, we're not going to be going through all of them, because some of these teams had up to 7 or 8 undrafted free agents coming in. So we're going to start with the Dragons here. They picked up 3 athletes and also a couple other players, but the main 3 are Damon Brady, Conrad Brady, and Jeremiah Brady. They have no position just yet. Some are going to be on defense, some are going to be on offense. With their triplets, they've really made a name in the developmental as just being freak athletes at any position you put them at. So I think that's going to help out the Dragons fill out some of the roster. Then you look at what used to be the Condors, but have changed their name at the end of this offseason to the Philadelphia Revolution. They have guard Byron Bailey and a great strong safety in Javonte Powell they picked up, who's going to really make that secondary much better for the Revolution. Then, the Flight pick up another amazing strong safety, and Raphael Burgess, he's a lot like Emmanuel Tanner as well, just a little slower. And then they have wide receiver / CB, Rashawn Elliott. He can break anyone's ankles with the ball, without the ball. On defense, he's going to be able to go up, make some great plays on the ball, cover people very well. He lacks tackling, obviously, but who is such a elite athlete, the Flight are going to be great. The Hogs do only pick up these 2 players, but they're 2 amazing players. A player who had some controversy with him with Christos Constantine, wide receiver / free safety Iron Man. He's 6'11", which is absolutely humongous. And they get another big guy in 6'7" Reggie Hutchinson at that DN spot to come in to rush in their 3-4. Then the Monarchs, they pick up Chris Young's 2 twins, Bryce Young and Brandon Young. One at backup quarterback and one plays wide receiver and CB, just like his dad did in high school. Then they also picked up free safety Reggie Fazad. Hawks pick up Markel Franklin to replace McWilliams, I believe. Or, no, to play with McWilliams, sorry. But Franklin's going to be a special talent here in the league. Left tackle Dylan Hunter goes to the Bullheads. That's insane in itself, because I would have thought he would have been drafted, especially with all the other left tackles picked. Blackbirds picked up Alan Kennedy, which is like another Rich Lawrence, I think. Yeah. He's just a big white dude, power back, some good catching. That's about it. But they also picked up free safety Jakeem Kelly, who could probably play for the next 20 years for them and just replace some of their amazing free safety talent they've had. Cavalry pick up, and it's big because they had some picks from their old coach and Bill Gable, who's now assisting the new coach to take his place. And he's moving on to being the GM and working with the said new coach. So the ones that Gable picked up were Drew the Mullet Alexander, who's made a name for himself due to his look and due to his reckless style of play that Bill Gable really wanted to try to form into a really nice quarterback in his gun playbook. He also picked up Rashawn Elliott at running back, and he also picked up a couple other people too that are not listed here. And then their new assistant coach in Cameron Scalone, who just took the Blackbirds almost to a championship game last year as their quarterback, he picked up Darnell Donald, who's a star edge rusher that they're going to try to put inside for some speed and for some quickness off the pass rush. They also picked up tight end Smoochie Wallace from the Discord. He's a relative unknown who has shown some speed in the combine stuff, but we really don't know how good of a blocker he is. He just wasn't used in developmental that much. They also pick up Kettrick Buffin, who could probably play linebacker. He's a short but thick DB who's going to play in the slot for them. And then he also picked up running back / fullback Reed Weathers, which, if you're new, this is obviously an introduction to a new series. He was picked up years ago in the 3rd or 4th season off season. He had a couple decent years, and then he retired due to injuries. The last 5 years, he's been in the top 2 of rushing. At fullback, in developmental, he's gained some weight, lots of muscle. He's lost a little bit of his elusiveness and top speed, but he's a really good blocker, and he's probably going to be elite for at least 2 more years, and then probably be good for another 10. He's a solid back, and I mean, he's fought through his injuries, and he's taking really good care of himself now, which is really good. But now he's with the Cavalry getting his last shot in the league. As we look at Sacramento, wide receiver Deshaun Woods is a speedster. He's going to come out and help out this team that just lost Teddy Moon, a star, possible Hall of Fame wide receiver they had for many years. Warthogs get one guy, and it's quarterback Bryce St. Martin. What's interesting about him is he is a dual threat quarterback. and is what we call in this league an offensive playmaker. He's good on draws. He could probably play running back if he really wanted to, or wide receiver. He is super athletic. He has a decent arm. He's a little scared in the pocket, but he lacks being able to read coverages very well, and he's good with accuracy and getting the ball there, but he's really hard about like fitting it into tight coverage due to him not having a super strong arm. But with him going to the Warhogs with Kyle Lehman, Hall of Fame quarterback, as his head coach, and a solid quarterback in Rashawn Derricks as his mentor, it's going to be very interesting to see. Tigers go all in and get Hunter Messett at guard. This is a typo, but he also has his cousin, it's another Messett, also at guard as well. They've been very tight. They've always played football together, and that's actually why they weren't drafted, because they would have been one of the top guards, two of the top guards in this draft. But they wanted to go to the same team together because they have such good chemistry, and they go to freaking Chicago. And then you look at the dynasty as the rich get richer. They get linebacker slash running back Okoye Mabute, who is from Africa originally. He moved to New Zealand to play rugby as a youngin. He also played soccer. But he also watched Ty Banks from the Discord, an amazing running back slash linebacker in this league. He grew up watching him, especially when he was in his high school years, and he really wanted to play football, but football wasn't there. He started making his name a little bit in rugby, and he's flown all the way here, and he's playing with and next to, on both sides of the ball, his hero Ty Banks. It's insane what a story Okoye Mabute has in this league. Stallions pick up Amante Hill, who is a speed burner. He's probably going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league real quick. We have running back Jamison Berry from the Discord going to the Stallions to try to get some youth in the running back core. And they have strong safety Shabine Mathis, who's a hard-hitting, athletic freak of a safety. Sailors have three people here. They have Artavis Mitchell, who's a great receiver. They picked up another offensive lineman. I mean, he's not really, much to talk about. But then you look at Daryl Lanza at linebacker. The Sailors have their Hall of Fame linebacker retire on them, and they pick up Daryl Lanza, who's okay in zone. He's had one good year in developmental, and he's got a big contract now, so it's going to be hard to see if he's really worth that money. The Revenge, as the rich also get richer again, they get wide receiver Dontori Moore, who is a insane wide receiver option for them. He can block okay, but he has a good speed. He's really good on crossing routes, and he's just not going to drop a ball. He has great route running, and for a team that has always kind of lacked receivers, this is insane. And they pick up another guard in Walter Stevens. This team easily has one of the best O-lines in the league. Crusaders, they pick up a couple people, but the one to really talk about is Joe Basket, who has never missed a tackle in the last 3 years of developmental, I believe he's played. He is only a bronze linebacker, but he does have a future here, and it's going to be cool to see what he can do. The Firebirds are in the midst of a rebuild. They pick up tackle Paul Wagner, who's a solid pickup. I really don't know why he fell, because after seeing some of the tackles that were picked, he could have been number 2, easily. Richie Pitts, who's now the best center in the league. He can run block, he can pass block, he has the strength, he's a stonewall, he's a leader guy, he's agile on, he's everything. He's everything. And now they have a great center and a great tackle. Or 2 great tackles, actually, with Jax Howell, too. insane. They also have running back Frank Murphy, who's kind of speedy. That's going to be interesting to see with the Firebirds. And then they lastly have CB Feo Alsup, one of the best zone coverage corners, falling into undrafted free agency. Another tackle gets picked by the Guardians, and Mitchell Murrier. Nothing much to really say about him. He probably could have been drafted, but I think just because there's only 24 picks, he fell to undrafted free agency. And then we're going to get to the Gladiators, which probably made out as bandits this year. They didn't have any draft picks. They went all in. They have 8 guys here that I'm showing you, and I think they possibly got a few more. Now, they lost their star quarterback in Nate the Great. They decided not... He came up in free agency, and they just decided not to try to re-sign him or use a tag on him because there's no use. And he got paid more to go to Dynasty and be a backup quarterback, which they kind of need more. Gladiators pick up a fullback since they've been running this really power-heavy set lately due to their backup quarterback and head coach, Rick Tempest. They got Zane McGill, who's the best fullback in developmental the last 3 years. He can pass block, run block. He has the speed to run the ball. He is a good receiver. He's a tough dude. He's a train. No one can really get in front of him. Wide receiver Matt Barker, who's the new and improved Jaquan Oregon. He may have a slight step less than Oregon, but holy crap, his route running is amazing. He has awesome hands. The Gladiators are going to be freaky on offense, especially with Reggie Chamberlain, who is again probably... Sorry about that. Is probably now the second or third best center in the league already. They also have a D tackle, Andre Charles, who is automatically a top 15 D tackle. They have Mike Gilmore, who was picked up by the Firebirds 4 years ago, and he was the best CB to ever be drafted, but he was injured in the last game of back then, what was the last year before we started developmental. So he was in college. Shredded his knee real bad, can never really play. I think he played 1 year, he came back early and just didn't do well. Gladiators are giving him a shot. He went back to developmental. He really showed his coverage skills, and it's very impressive to see him back. Wide receiver Colin Johnson, another big receiver for this offense. It's going to be nice to see if any of the other ones get tired for big 6'6" Colin Johnson to come in. And then lastly, they get quarterback J.T. Perkins, who is a scrambling, balanced quarterback. He's a little bit on the smaller side. He doesn't have Nate Porter's arm or his accuracy, but he does have good pocket presence. And with all of these upgrades, this team, as you guys know, I'm not controlling the Dragons anymore. Montana Young, losing their offensive coordinator to the Monarchs, they pick up the Cavalry's former starting quarterback to be their offensive coordinator. So I'm not going to be with the Dragons anymore. But we have 2 more teams to go in Undrafted Stars before I can unveil who the next team I'm going to be choosing to play with for this season. For the Bears, they pick up Douglas Gutierrez, who is a lower name quarterback from developmental. I don't really think he really deserved to be in the league, but he does have athletic ability. He could throw in the run, and I think with the Bears, with their new head coach Miles Claiborne, who is a Hall of Fame quarterback who played for 24 years, mostly with the Flight, or not with the Flight, mostly with, I think it was Philly or something. Guardians. It was the Guardians he mostly played for. He then went to the Flight, and then, yeah. But anyway, they also pick up Branch Aubrey, who's one of the best CBs in this draft as well. So they're really picking up some solid talent. And lastly, real quick, Walleyes pick up 6'6" Darren Cooper. He's a gold receiver. He's going to be going down deep. He's going to be insane. They also have free safety Henry Kinder, who's a playmaking free safety from... He can make any play out of the wazoo. He's awesome. And then, like I said, they have Jorel McKenzie, who has now decided to become a walleye. Now, lastly, let's unveil who I'm going to be this year in this franchise. It's going to be the Boston Cavalry, and welcome to Boston. I am picking Cameron Scalone to be my character for this season, or not even just for this season, but for this saga. The Montana Young saga is over. You had the years with the Wolves where he had to fight against some of the older players like Brady Vaughn, who's now a coach. He had to fight ownership to really try to make a good team. He took that team to the championship, and then Young was forced to get rid of all of his star players, start from scratch. He made another big run and could just never make it back. And they end up going out, just not getting to the playoffs, and he got fired. He then went to San Francisco, as we saw from season 8 to now. He's taken a team that had some good, solid talent, and he's built them with, him being part owner with their original owner. He's looking good there in San Francisco, and they are amazing, but games are just not as close anymore. J.C. Riley is OP, as we've seen him throw across his body down the field deep off his back foot. Great receivers, great, not a good O-line, but, okay O-line. A great defense. I mean, whether it was with big veteran stars or with what they have now, it's a great defense. Now, with the Cavalry, there is a special story going on. Bill Gable, who's a famous coach in this league, is going up to be kind of the GM type role, but he's assisting Cameron Scalone to hopefully get him to be able to coach by himself. But Scalone will have full autonomy over the offense and defense, and then even on top of that, Scalone will have an extra vote on what players they can get and what will fit their scheme. Bill Gable has always had a spread heavy pass team with a lot of power runs up the middle. Well, that isn't happening with Scalone. Scalone's going to be running a very tight, very heavy running system out of single back with some gun thrown in, but he has a big mind and a really good idea of how to run this offense. Now, as well too, our division is super difficult, with the Guardians being 50-50 every year. We have the Revolution, who have one of the best defenses in the league. And just in general, our division is just tough, with all 3 other teams are just extremely tough to beat. And then, on top of that, if you look at the conference, you have super teams like the Dynasty, like the Tigers. You have teams like the Firebirds, who are trying to make a run. You have the Bullheads trying to make a run. Every team is going to be very difficult to play. But with this depth chart, what we're starting with, hopefully we can start this rebuild off on a good step forward. As we look here at the depth chart, we're going to start with the offensive skill positions, and then we're going to do the trench warriors on both sides of the ball, and then we're going to look at the defensive secondary. So first, with the offensive skill positions, we're going to start with quarterback, and that is Drew the Mullet Alexander. He made a big name for himself being very erratic, but he tends to always make great plays. But Gable was really happy to have him because he's always had a guy named Connor Grimm at quarterback who is very smart, very analytical, The problem is that he got injured last year and was forced to retire, and that's why he's a coordinator with with Sacramento, or not Sacramento, with the San Francisco Dragons now, and they're going to run more of a pass-heavy shotgun system. But it's going to be interesting because the mullet does have some scrambling ability. He has decent accuracy, like I've said before, but his coverage reading ability is not very great, and he can be very erratic with the ball. Then we look at Reed Weathers, who's a star running back, like I told you. We have Sam Ako and Rashawn Rout, who both, Ako can maybe be turn into a fullback in the future, and Rout is this kind of a speedster. He has some more speed than the other guys, but he's nothing great. We have Addison, like we said from the draft, starting here, and Calvin Herrera, who is a good route running receiver. And then we have two good tight ends, especially with Smoochie Wallace there from the Discord at tight end. In the future, I'm really hoping to move him to wide receiver, because I think he'll be able to dominate CBs in the run game as opposed to linebackers, just because he may be thick, but he is short. As we look at the offensive and defensive line, the Trench Warriors, we have on offense John Baker, who's been a tackle for them probably for 4 years. He's good at pass blocking, but he's not strong, nor can he run block, nor is he agile enough. Pretty weak, I would say. They have Brett Daly, who's probably their second best offensive lineman, and he's a solid starter at best. They got Cooper Clanton at center, who's, again, not that great. They have Julian Johnson that they just picked up. He's amazing. And then you have Burl Benton, who, again, is just kind of a roster filler. They have Martin McLaughlin, who they also got undrafted free agent. He's a good edge player. He can play middle linebacker. He can play off the edge. He can blitz pretty well. He's just overall an athletic linebacker, so that's going to be pretty nice for him. We have Darnell Donald, who's a swim move and speed rush specialist. He has some strength and some power, but he's really known for his speed. So for him to be moved inside, he's going to be able to hit whenever it's a 3-4 over. He's going to be able to hit that edge very well. When it's an under, he's going to be able to hit that guard spot pretty fast as well. Julian Johnson, big dude. He's playing D tackle, and he's going to completely destroy offensive lines due to his strength. And like I mentioned before, there was a trade that was not really talked about much, and it was Jermaine Redden coming in to play that left end position from the Blackbirds, and the Blackbirds got our former star linebacker, Richard Moran, I believe is his name. But Blackbirds needed a linebacker, we needed an end, so it just kind of worked. But other than that, the Trench Warriors here, again, there's some big star players, and the defensive line is a lot better than our offensive line. But it's not like how with the Dragons that the first year I had them, I had 4 first-round picks. I could have done more in undrafted free agency. I did as much as I could, especially with running backs, and I do have a plan of attack, depending on how this season goes, to improve the offense and defense in the off-season. Because I know for sure there is one player I do want to get in this next off-season that's going to probably change the offense pretty single-handedly. But until then, let's see how they do this season. I'm not really seeing both trenches doing well, especially due to some of the teams that we're facing, like the Metal, like Philly, like New York. And it's going to be rough and tumble this season, but I think it's going to be worth it. And now we're looking at the secondary. We're going to start with the linebackers. None of them are good. Healy is just a filler. Kinder's just a filler. Cliff Kaufman, might be able to make some plays, but he's pretty much a filler. CB is where it gets really interesting. We have 3 nickel corners. We have Alan Guy, who I believe was picked up last year. He's a nickel corner at heart. He's very slow. He's probably the slowest person on in the secondary, with only 50 speed. He should be playing slot, but Buffin is a much better at run coverage, so Guy is gonna have to just deal with being on the outside, and we're probably gonna have to shade Perry Miller, who we also got undrafted, to go over the top. Samuel Avery is a special talent. He's not super athletic. He's probably one of the faster CBs we have, other than Buffin. But Avery also played 14 years with the Dynasty at nickel. He's made some amazing plays over the years, and now he's with the Cavalry to try to make this defense better, especially in the secondary. And I think it's going to be nice for him to help out Cameron Scalone really understand defense, especially because Scalone knows how to read defenses, but with him trying to help coach defense, it's got to be nice to have Samuel Avery there, who maybe in the future could be a coach on his own. They also have Garrett Jensen, who's a star free safety in this league. And like I said, Perry Miller, who is 6'4", can hit really hard. In the future, he might be inside linebacker material, oversized inside linebacker material. But for right now, he's strong safety. Kedrick Buffin is great at the slot. He's pretty much everything you could ever want from a slot guy. I think what Cameron Scalone, he's going to be able to kind of do it this year. But next year, I know for sure Scalone wants to do where he's playing dime instead of how Montana Young would throw in dime every once in a while and mostly did a heavy set diamonds and nickel. Scalone wants to make it so other than goal line situations, if it's a running down nickel, but have dime 50% of the time instead of the every once in a while that the Dragons would use it. Because when you play dime, especially with this 3-4 set, Julian Johnson's going to do well. You could probably move McLaughlin the middle, and then you could have Buffin, Avery, Guy, Jensen, Miller, and then maybe another guy out there, so to really stop the passing plays. But other than that, that is the depth chart of the Boston Cavalry. Our colors are green and yellow, and if you haven't noticed, that's why everything's been green and white with some tinges of yellow. I've been trying to hint at it the whole video, but hopefully it didn't ruin the surprise. But other than that, now let's look at our first opponent. I was going to do a whole schedule video thing in this video too, but we're in it to about an hour already, and I think that's a little too long. I wanted it to only be 20 minutes, but there's no way I could have updated you guys on everything in 20 minutes. So now let's look at the first game that we're going to have to do. The first game we're going to have to survive is a Dragons rival in the Denver Flight. They have their star is quarterback Patrick Anderson, and this is going to be the new team screen, with their offense being a 7.1 out of 10, which is kind of low, but I'm undervaluing their offense and overvaluing their defense because I don't know how the sim is going to take them because I'm not playing against them twice a year. So look for this number to go up probably in the next year or so, because Patrick Anderson is always amazing. He may be losing a little bit of his arm with being 12 years in the league, but with the flight, he's going to be amazing. But until then, I'll see you guys when the flight game is uploaded. I hope you guys enjoy this introduction video to the new APF franchise in the same universe that you guys always loved, but a year ahead. And I'll see you next time. Peace.